Eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any mental illness, which again often surprises people. 1 in 5 of the most seriously affected will die prematurely, and that's predominantly through suicide, as well as the physical effects and the toll it takes on someone's body, both under eating, not having enough calories, and also the purging ways that often people, by making themselves sick, that can lead to heart problems, digestive problems. Unfortunately, we do hear people that are so weak, that they have heart attacks or heart problems. A whole range of different long-term health implications that unfortunately, add up to that high mortality rate.
Basically, I think it was down to pressure and schoolwork and things at home just weren't going so well, and I didn't really talk to anyone. The only way I could find the control was to restrict what I was eating.
It's hard to know, pin it down to one thing, but there's many contributions, such as there's early bullying when I was about year 4 or so, which stayed in my mind, and the throwaway comments you get. And then a lot of my family are quite, they were dieting at the time because they were all quite on the obese side. So that, obviously, being surrounded by all that dieting influenced my focus on that.
We know that 1.6 million people in the UK are affected by eating disorders. In terms of prevalence, we know that 10% of all cases are anorexia, which often surprises people because it's the most visual eating disorder and often the one that's most reported in the media. And then there's around 40% of people that are suffering from bulimia, and around 50% come in a category called EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, where they don't actually meet the criteria of the other eating disorders, and have a mixture of symptoms. And there's also binge eating disorder as well.
Kirsty Pope was not unlike a great many other teenagers. She was 14 years old, unhappy with her life in general, unhappy how she looked, unhappy at home. She decided she wanted to look better, healthier, so she began eating less.
I didn't think anyone would understand. I mean, there's a lot of things about young girls going on diets and how it's just a phase, and especially with GPs and stuff, you have to be a certain BMI to get diagnosed and everything like that. It's just, so much hassle really just to get the help you need. Then if you go and see somebody at school, it's not exactly confidential because they want to help you, but you don't want people to know. So it's not that easy. I started exercising more, eating more healthily, well, what I would have said was healthily. Things like, there's a lot of Weight Watchers about, and they've got the points and things on the front, so it's quite easy just to think, okay, I should have this many and I want to get down to this weight, so I'll just cut that out and then cut everything out. I ended up just having yogurts and crackers because I was scared of every other food, which is completely irrational thinking about it now, but at the time I was just petrified. You just cut everything out little by little until you get to, eating 2 food things per day, and it's just, I don't really remember it happening so much. It happened so gradually. It's like a 3-year process to get right down into it. I counted all the calories. It had to be a certain yogurt, a certain flavour, a certain type of crackers, and I'd literally break down and panic if my crackers weren't in the supermarket. So it's just, strange to look back on, but at the time it was completely normal.
There's a lot of myths around eating disorders, like it only affects girls, it's a fad, it's a diet, when all of those things aren't true. Eating disorders are mental illnesses, and again, that often surprises people. People think because it's food that it's a very physical thing, it's about what you eat, what you put in your body, and it works like that, when that's not the case.
To start with, I didn't really think it was a mental illness. I thought everybody else had the problem. I just thought, okay, they're saying everyone else, is getting obese and stuff. I was like, yeah, it's their problem. They're eating too much. I'm not eating too little. I'm okay. I was happy how I was. Well, I was, a bit deluded being happy how I was, but I was happy. I think it was more the physical side of things, like getting so many headaches, being so tired, and the depression, but mainly from not eating, just the nutrition's not getting into your brain and you just don't have the energy to get up. I was missing a lot of school, and I was just exhausted. I couldn't climb stairs.
People are using food as a coping mechanism. There could be other things that are going on in their life. Often we see people, have been bullied, or they're going through a bereavement or a divorce. There's a whole range of different factors that come together to make someone vulnerable to developing an eating disorder.
I think it took confrontation and people to say that, look, they were really worried, and it was mainly seeing what I was putting other people through that made me realise that something was wrong. My teachers had been talking to the school guidance counsellor who I'd been seeing for issues at home and things. It's like my parents' divorce and my mum being ill. And she basically had said that she was worried, and that a lot of teachers had said they were worried. So either I sort of go along with her to talk to my GP, or she'd have to do it against my will. And I didn't really want it all being done against my will. I didn't want to go into hospital under a section or anything like that. At the time I didn't believe them. I still didn't believe them until even when the day before I got diagnosed, I went to the guidance counsellor and said, I don't think I fit this criteria, I'm too big, I can't have anorexia, I'm too fat for anorexia. And then I went in and got told my BMI was 12, so I couldn't possibly have been too fat for anorexia. And I still couldn't see it. I still didn't believe anyone when they told me how small I was, or that I'd need these supplements and more calories than normal people. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I was buying clothes for 9 to 10-year-olds and things at 18, and in a strange way you're kind of pleased that you can fit into them, but then it's really perverse because you can't even fit into a woman's size 6, which is the smallest size in the UK, I think. And you just don't see anything wrong with it. You can still see, or you can still feel the fat on you and the food in you, and it's just so odd. Looking at pictures now I can see it, but then I just couldn't.
Sometimes people are in denial, they're not willing to come forward for treatment, they don't realise they have a problem. It can take a friend or a family member or a carer to actually ask them, how are you feeling, what's going on, is everything okay? And sometimes at the time people, will be negative to that and say, no, there's not a problem, I don't know what you're talking about. But for nearly everyone that we speak to, they tell us that they're so grateful to that person when they did reach out to them and say and talk to them about it, that in hindsight they are so grateful that at the time they might not have shown it, but actually that someone cared, someone supported them, and someone was willing to help them get better and recognise that they had a problem.
So basically I went to the doctor and she said I probably had depression, and that she gave me some tablets which to start with didn't work. I was on 25 milligrams and they did nothing. She told me I should motivate myself to get out and do more, and I couldn't do that. I didn't have the energy. She told me to write a food diary, but I can tell you right now what I eat at what time, and it was completely rubbish. She didn't weigh me, she didn't do my blood pressure or anything, just said that I needed basically to find some friends and get outside. So I went back to my guidance counsellor and said, look, nothing happened, this is what happened. I didn't mind so much at the time, but my guidance counsellor called my doctors and literally said, we're really worried, this is everything that's been happening, this is what I think, I'm a professional, listen to us. So then I went back, and she didn't ask me for the meal plan, she didn't ask me about motivation, she gave me some more antidepressants, and then I got a referral. Once I'd been referred, I had my assessment within about 2 weeks, but then I had to wait a few months for any treatment. So I'd been assessed, but there's still the waiting period. So 2 months is a long time when you think about stuff like that. But once I had been seen, then I had a psychotherapist for about 3 months, and then she went on leave, and I didn't see anyone until the January. So that was from the August to the January that I was just kind of left. I saw a dietitian once, but it was via email, so I could have told her anything. But thankfully I had people supporting me, and I was wanting to get better. I'd been rejected from university that year because I didn't pass a physical, and I wanted to go to university, so that was kind of my main goal and the reason I put on the weight. I guess mainly I put on the first bit of weight just through binging and purging, just slipping into bulimia, and there was no one there to support me through it. But I guess I came to the conclusion that either one goes or they both do. I can't live with them, so I had to get rid of them. And in the January I saw my psychotherapist, and basically all she saw was, okay, you've put on the weight, you look okay, we're going to discharge you now. So mentally, I didn't feel any different. Physically, I looked different, but I didn't know how to cope with that. So I went back to the doctors and said, look, I really can't cope with this. So she told me to find myself a counsellor, which I didn't know how to do. I didn't have a clue. So I went online, and there isn't much free counselling about, really. So I went to Centre 33 in Cambridge for a while. They offered 6 sessions and they were lovely, they were so helpful. But once my sessions were up, I didn't quite know what to do. So I got in contact with the YMCA in Peterborough, and a lady comes to St Ives weekly, so I saw her for, it was initially 8 sessions, but then she said I needed another set, and they managed to get the funding to give me another 8 sessions, which was so nice of them. At the moment, I'm with a private counsellor who works in Cambridge, and she's been amazing. She's the same lady I saw at Centre 33, but she's also a private counsellor, so I didn't have to start again. And she gives me a completely reduced rate, so it's really nice of her, so I can actually afford to go and see her. So yeah, the main support's just hasn't really been from the NHS. It's been from people I've been in treatment with, like group treatment sessions. I'd stay in contact with some people, and we have to support each other through it, because there just isn't the funding and the mental health to do anything. I bought my first pair of jeans for 2 years, because I found jeans kind of the hardest thing to buy, because either you have to get them, they have to fit properly really, or they look horrendous. And changing rooms was something that I really hate. I still don't really like them. I don't think anyone likes changing rooms, but yeah, it was mainly I'd buy my clothes online and just get a medium or something, so I knew they'd fit and I wouldn't actually have to try them on. I think everyone needs a constant reminder of why they decided to recover and why people should choose recovery. I mean, it's about, yeah, you need to eat, but you also can enjoy food. You don't just have to, eat fruit and vegetables all the time just to make you healthy, or avoid things because the paper says they're bad for you. And I basically wanted to enjoy time out with friends again and just be a teenager, really.
Kirsty maintains a photo album to remind her of the progress she has made since her hospital stay. Along with pictures which reflect her weight loss, it also contains pictures and greetings from her new friends, now almost all former anorexics. Most of her original classmates moved on while Kirsty was receiving treatment for her illness.
It's almost like having 2 people in your head. It's not like hearing voices like schizophrenia or anything, it's just kind of, I'm not really sure, it's like hearing your own voice like everyone does, but it seems to be completely against you and telling you to do things, and you just don't have the power to fight back. But then once you think, okay, that's not a normal thought, that's an anorexic thought, you can kind of put it aside and think, no, I'm going to fight that, I'm going to go against it. I wouldn't say I'm completely recovered. It's generally a 5-year process is what they say, but I'm a lot better than I was, and considering it's only been about a year since I've been in recovery, I'm feeling really positive about the future now. I'm quite happy with my head at the moment. So it was never that I didn't like food. I've never not liked it at all. I've never really been a fussy eater. I think I'm fussier now than I've ever been as a child. I wasn't a fussy eater, and I just basically ate what I wanted to before. So it's kind of nice to have that back. My diet before was just so bland that even things like fruit are really exciting for me now. I'd basically say don't suffer alone, that even though your head's telling you you're wrong, you haven't got anything wrong with you. Just talk to somebody, even if it's like an anonymous letter, or I don't know, write to a magazine or go online and find something like Ask Ali with connections. Just speak to anyone, a teacher, a counsellor. I think most schools have guidance counsellors or nurses nowadays. Just talk to anyone. I mean, someone that they will take you seriously. It's a real worry. So yeah, just talk to someone, really.
Grace Farman is a young ambassador for BEAT. She helps out in the charity's Norwich office. Perhaps more importantly, however, Grace talks to other teenagers about the chronic dangers of becoming anorexic. She explains how many people her age and younger may experience problems at school, as in her case, or at home for one reason or another. Unfortunately, they don't seek help from friends, teachers or parents. And at this point, she says, some young people make an extremely harmful decision. They choose to go down a dangerous road, which will seriously affect their health. Grace can sympathise, because she's taken that route. She became anorexic at a very early age.
The majority of people my age have some issue towards food in the sense, how they feel about themselves, but not to the extent of an actual eating disorder. But people like myself obviously were in denial before being diagnosed, and it is a very secret illness, so it is hard for some people to actually tell whether or not they are suffering.
Often people are very quick to blame the media, blame the fashion industry, blame models, but eating disorders are very complex and they're very serious. There's a whole range of different factors that come together. They're multifactorial. So we know there's more, there's biology, there's social pressures, there's cultural pressures. We're learning more and more all the time about how our brains are hardwired. Do some people have a genetic predisposition? There's world-class research being done, a lot of it in the UK, into our brains and how they're hardwired, which is really, really interesting, showing more about the causes of eating disorder than we've ever seen before. For some people, trying to be thin and look for a certain body ideal is a problem, but there's also people that tell us, they never looked in a magazine, they weren't worried about being thin, it was actually just a way of coping for them.
I was losing more and more weight. I had a growth spurt and I was doing a lot of sports. My parents thought it was that, but they also believed that I was eating lunch at school and eating when I got home, but I wasn't, and obviously my friends were there to witness that. So one of them anonymously contacted my head of year, who then contacted my mum, and then it just went on from there.
Grace believes parents can be extremely helpful, but that it is important they are careful what they say and do.
First of all, they can't be too controlling, because that does cause then a bigger sense of rebellion and stronger will to not want to recover. So they have to let you have options and try and be as calm. I know there will be frustration, because it is horrible to see your own child put themselves through what an eating disorder does. But they just need to try and provide them as many options as possible, and just know when the right time is to step in, but without taking away complete control.
And advice to friends?
I think friends just need to be that positive support, and environment to be around. Make sure that, they do, not take the whole role of what the parents do, but know when to step in and stuff, and just try and lead a normal life with them, and not, rule them out, or if they just know their borderline. So if, with my personal experience, if the friends are getting too affected by what they're going through, they need to know when to step back, but also say at the same time, this is why I'm stepping back, not I'm leaving you because I just can't take it.
While originally reluctant to discuss her eating disorder with anyone, she now is elated one of her friends eventually did tell a school official about her condition.
Oh, of course I'm glad, definitely, because I definitely wouldn't be I probably wouldn't be where I am today. And even throughout my recovery, because even when I came out of hospital, I wasn't going by my meal plans and stuff, so they would be the ones who would report back and just say she's not eating her lunch or something. I did stop eating, and it progressed even more as towards my hospital admission as time went on, because you become more aware of what you're doing, and you sort of sometimes accept more that you have an eating disorder, and sometimes in that case then it progresses more and more. To be in recovery, it means that you have got you have that obviously wanting for the recovery, and you're starting to accept that you need to change from the ways of an eating disorder, such as trying to take it on yourself and try and stop some of the habits. People will see the recovery as just a straight line, whereas from A to B, which is from the eating disorder to recovered, but it isn't like that. It is like a big spiral roller coaster, and sometimes it will go backwards into relapse, but that is normal because people do have blips even in life, so recovery does require sometimes those struggles. Obviously there's always those down days, like I say, but that is what makes you stronger, and that's what makes people anyway, to show you're alive. So So you do need them, and it does just help you and go back on the next day waking up with a bigger fighting cause.
BEAT is the national charity supporting people affected by eating disorders and campaigning on their behalf. We have a whole range of different support services for both sufferers and carers, and all the information is on our website www.be-eat.co.uk.